Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. Today, Jordan and I have put together a ranking of all of the Build-A-Figures that we have had so far, and some that we haven't had. You kind of can get a feel for how some Build-A-Figures stack up compared to others. But we've got some different levels. We've got the S tier, absolute best. There's no touching them. They will always be at the top. And then we've got the A, B, C, D, F. F is pretty much those figures belong in the trash. It was a mistake to have ever made them. And then we've got an NA category because some figures, kind of like Khonshu, Controller, those newer figures, we just haven't had out long enough to make a judgment for ourselves, where we don't have them in person, or we haven't kind of gotten a feel for the community on how those figures are received. Before we get into the ratings list, though, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. We are closing in on the finish of our giveaway for the Daryl Young posters. Once we hit 200, that's where, so if you have to be within the first 200 people to be entered into the giveaway, the one winner who is selected, it'll be a random, I think I'm going to have to find some randomization website, copy all the names of the subscribers in there, randomize, and then whoever gets picked is going to get one free poster from Daryl Young. So you can
Wait
go
a minute,
on his...
Dakota, did you say free?
Absolutely free. Shipped to you for free.
My goodness.
I mean, I think as long as you're within the United States, we'll ship it to you for free. But I've looked at our analytics, and like everyone's from the United States. Everyone's a dude. At least that are subscribed.
Posters,
and that's the other thing,
beautiful.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Did you know that 90% of the people listening to our podcast right now are not subscribed?
What?
The audacity of you listeners to not be subscribed.
Or just to not put your name in to get a free poster.
Exactly.
Like one of those lovely ones on your wall if you're watching on YouTube right now.
You're here listening to two of the best collectors.
Wow.
You know, we're not even asking you to hit that bell notification. I don't hit that bell notification for nobody. I understand if you don't want to do that. Maybe that helps us out. Hit that bell and see if it helps us. I don't even know if I can tell if you hit the bell or not. But
and then I saw we have 11 reviews on Spotify, I think.
Yeah.
5 stars, though, but those reviews help. So it
Yeah.
would also be good to get a review. And we love comments. Whatever kind of engagement you feel.
We just had a bunch of comments today on our Necronominous Mythic Legions.
Right, we didn't know what a chimera was.
And yeah.
He said Greek mythology 101.
Did you see he also thought that the golden...
Oh, yeah, the
that
skeleton you hate?
Yeah, that skeleton that I think is just terrible, he thought was awesome. Which, hey, I said, if there was anything I was wrong about, let me know. I still don't understand the appeal of those skinny, flimsy skeletons, but I think Mythic Legions is going to do it better, but we'll see. Today, though, we are talking about Build-A-Figures, and we are going to be ranking every Build-A-Figure that has been put out between Hasbro and ToyBiz. I don't think we're going to spend... Yeah, R.I.P. We're not going to spend a ton of time on every single one because I didn't tally up how many of these there were, but there is a significant amount. So Jordan and I didn't do our lists together, so we may have some disagreements on some figures. Hopefully we give you guys some colorful commentary, and then maybe we'll see if either one of us can talk us into raising or lowering some of our rankings. But I think just to get out of the way, the S tier, like, I don't even know what S stands for. This is just when people do their rankings.
Maybe.
S is like super. Yeah, the best. Better than A. Supreme, maybe. I think, let me pull up yours here, Jordan. I think we have pretty much the same S tier.
S tier?
Can I see your S tier?
That's my one is my top tier.
Oh, I think I pulled up my own picture. That doesn't help us very much. All right, there we go. Now I got your picture. So now we have some differences, actually. I'm surprised by some of your S tiers. I'll go with my S tier first because mine's a little bit more, I think the people are going to more agree with my S tiers. Yeah, they're definitely going to agree more with mine. Yours
All right.
not bad.
Let's hear it.
So mine, obviously, the ToyBiz. We've got the big boys. I've got Giant Man, Galactus, Sentinel, and Apocalypse. and you have all of them as well. So we definitely agree there. And anybody out there listening, I could see if you were like kind of questioning whether Apocalypse, because I feel like most people's has gotten loose over time. But come on, man, those big ones are like practically
that
considered
amazing.
Like cheap HasLabs now.
Yeah, they're huge.
So mine, I was gonna say
we've
mine.
Speculated that's what put ToyBiz out of business, but
I
they gave
I
us
think you're
some
probably
great
right,
Build-A
honestly.
figures.
And we've said they've gone out in a blaze of glory, and I mean that's not all of their figures. I think they probably, because those came out and then
were
they kind of brought it back.
Four though?
I think it was.
That was
and
like
I think
home run, home run, home run, home run, and they're like, oh man,
we've really screwed up. And then they really backed it down with Mojo and MODOK, which we'll get into them later when they show up on our list. But I think the damage was already done. They did way too good right out of the gates. But then my final S tier Build-A-Figure that I think most people are going to agree with me on is Fin Fang Foom.
Oh.
Although I don't have him in hand, I've heard enough people, and his price I think speaks for himself. Well, although you can't always pick price as like the main factor. That looks like a sweet figure. I'd love to get it someday if we don't get a HasLab first. But do you have that one in your like?
I just
NA?
put it in. I've never held it. I mean, I've had like the head, and I was like, this is cool, but I don't know if I'm in a place to weigh in on whether it's a good Build-A-Figure or not, because who knows? Maybe it's like when you try to move it, it just falls apart. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never had one. So
yeah,
it looks cool, but I did not rank him in my top just because I could not with good conscience do such a thing.
I ranked a lot of figures that I've never had before, and I feel my conscience is clear. All right, so what are your other S tier figures that I didn't have?
I guess I almost felt like we needed to have like a top tier for, like, if I were to say of all the Hasbros, what are my favorite like 2 or 3 Build-A-Figures?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not necessarily trying to say these are like equal, because like you can't. It's really hard to compare to like Galactus or Giant Man, but like for what Hasbro did, this for me is like top. So I don't know if that should have been in another rank, but I put in Warlock because I think I'm still very impressed by the sculpt, the color, the overall design, the kind of weirdness, unique nature. He's tall.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of my favorite Hasbros. And then I just love the Gamerverse Abomination. I always have. Yeah. Maybe it was just because like I remember that left leg was so elusive, and I found it for like $10 one time. But I also think that the figure itself, like it's very well sculpted. It's kind of an interesting plastic that's not like hard, but it's like sturdy, but it feels almost like scaly. It's kind of strange. If you have one, right?
I have one. Yeah, you gave me one.
Oh yeah, I gave you one. Once I had mine collected, it was like whatever. But like even the way his like pants are sculpted, and you can like peel up like it's not like molded onto it. It's a separate piece.
I know how you love that.
I was just say,
look up his shorts.
I was just say that sounds bad. I don't often look up Abomination's skirt, but you know what I mean.
You like the option to.
I'm like, Galactus, can I? No. But I think that one's really cool, and I think for being a representation of the game, I think it was pretty good, and that's kind of my top. Yeah.
I mean, I think that Gamerverse Abomination can even sit in as your MCU Abomination. Yeah. He's pretty close to what he looks like now. I mean, I haven't had mine out for a little bit, but it looks pretty similar to what we saw in She-Hulk. I mean, obviously a little different, but closer than the comic version.
I would agree.
All right. You've got a smaller A list than I do, so I'll let you go through yours first, and then I'll see where we differed here.
All right. I put Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to talk or just boom, boom, boom.
I mean, you can mention things about whichever one if you wanted to.
I mean, I think he's unique. It's not a one you can really reuse because there's not many pterodactyl men. Same thing. He was sculpted in a way that was like there was detail and texture and like. So I thought that one was pretty good. I liked Sandman. I thought definitely the best Sandman out there, but I liked that they justified making him a Build-A-Figure by making him bulkier and having those big arms. Stiltman, I just think he's unique. It's just a fun concept. I like the whole you can stack them super high. Obviously, I've never done that because I think after 2, mine falls over. So,
yeah,
this one I might get some flack for, but I think it's a sentimental place in my heart, but it's the Sam Wilson Captain America Build-A-Figure wings. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jordan. That's insane. And it is a little insane, but that was the first wave that I bought, like, completely in store, and maybe it was just the experience of, like, making my first Build-A-Figure, but I found, like, all of those, and I was super
That was
stoked
actually
about it.
your very first Build-A-Figure to ever make, right?
Yeah,
you had
exactly.
parts and pieces to ToyBiz, but
yeah,
you
I never
completed.
made any as a kid. I got close to Mojo.
Wow. Yeah.
So, like, we'd kind of started trading and collecting online random stuff, but I'd never been, like, in the store, like, whoa, got all these. Oh, my gosh, put it together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I see
I'm
how
a
you're
sucker
listed.
for that.
Your list is definitely tainted with your nostalgia on that one. And
Yeah,
even that
it definitely
Warlock in
is.
the S tier, man. If Sam didn't like that, would that be in the S tier?
I don't know. That might also be part of it. But I guess Warlock is one that I come back to, like, manipulate a lot.
Okay. Yeah. He is very
Like,
posable.
I'll pick him up and be like, oh, he's fine. Like, I don't do that with a ton of these on this list.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
So maybe it's, I don't know, the sculpt detail. So say what you will about Sam Wilson. I guess I like, though, that, like, I guess they never made a deluxe for him, so, like, how else are you going to get those wings and make them,
at least
like,
not like that,
articulated? Yeah. Like, I like that they were articulated, and you could do, like, the shield thing, and I don't know.
No, yeah,
I think they look cool.
Pretty good Build-A-Figure.
And I just like that suit a lot. My next one I had, I'm kind of rethinking this as I'm going through this list, was Dormammu. I think I initially put him lower, and then I think he could definitely be improved upon and be better. I don't remember which year he came out.
I think he's decently older. It was like around the time of the first Doctor Strange movie.
Like 2016. So 6 years maybe? 6, 7? I don't know. I think for that, I like the effects, like the way they did the head, where it's like the translucent and the flaming skulls or whatever.
And they're like real, like effect, like his like flaming skulls are like real heads you could port onto other figures, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I think is just kind of creative, cool colors. I think he could use like extra pieces, but whatever. Another one I hadn't sold is Man-Thing, which I remember I completed him for really cheap, and I liked him, but I think at the time he was selling for like 60-ish, so I was like, I don't know. I have a hard time, keeping figures that are that much, but that's no reflection on how I feel about him. I think, again, another mold. I mean, the way his back is, of course, and his head, and just the vines and everything, like, that's pretty cool detail.
Yeah. I agree. I like him too.
Yeah, mine.
This one, next one you got on here though, I'm gonna disagree. I think a lot of other people are gonna disagree.
This is another one I definitely love to manipulate, and
really?
It's the Kree Sentry. I think he's just such a fun, like, goofy, old timey looking robot. Like,
yeah. I 100% agree. I love especially for the price. Like, people should be army building this guy. But manipulating him and posing him, I just don't think he's very articulated.
I think he's fun to pose. I think he's cool to pose.
I'll have to pull mine out again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you will. And then I had to give this one a shout out just because I know it's smaller. Mojo from the, of course, ToyBiz days. I just always thought the sculpt on this one
Mm-hmm.
was really cool. And again, it's another unique one. Like, you're not going to be able to really reuse this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, I wish, from what I've seen, the newer one had captured some more of the detail of this one.
Yeah.
Because I like this one, but I wish it was bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, they spent all their money on the other
Right.
four, so they had to pump the brakes. But
Yeah.
that's kind of my tops, I
Yeah. No,
suppose.
I agree. The detail on Mojo was pretty cool. And like you said, that was like the closest Toy Biz Build-A-Figure you were closest to building. You were just missing that one piece. Yeah. All right. So real quick recap of Jordan's A-listers. He's got Sauron, Sandman, Stiltman, Sam Wilson, Dormammu, Man-Thing, Kree Sentry, and Mojo. Sorry, let me pull up my list here. We've got some overlap. We've got one overlap. That overlap is Sauron. I agree. That figure it's unique, and like I always loved him from the animated show. That was the first. We're gonna do another episode in the future. So spoiler alert. This was like the catapult into collecting for me, really.
I'm looking at
good?
this list, dude. You're insane.
My list? We'll
You
get
think
into
my
it.
list is crazy?
Well, your list is so sparse. You got so many things in the NA. You didn't make any sort of speculations on figures you've never had before.
I'm just even questioning the ones in your A list that I know you've had, I think.
Yeah, all right. So let's get into my A list here.
All
Sauron
right.
is amazing. I love him. There's no question there. We both agree. Some other ones that you've already mentioned. I've got Warlock in the A category. Pretty good articulation. Very unique. He comes with a buzzsaw for a hand, so that's fun. I got my Gamerverse Abomination is in this list. Agree. I don't love him as much as you do, but he's awesome. I just can't put him on the same tier as Galactus and Giant Man. And then some different ones. I'll maybe go in like order of what I think is most
So
widely
you though
agreed upon.
you have like a tier above this tier though. That's just the Build-A-Figures, right? The ToyBiz ones.
Yeah, the Toy Biz ones are my S tier. That's like my number one.
Okay, I see.
So that's like the unbeatables. Even everything below here may be adjustable. I just don't think there's going to be ever any beating those big Toy Biz ones. So then probably the most, yeah, I'll go from most agreeable to maybe most surprising. Venom Pool, I think is super fun. He comes with alternate hands, a sword. He's big and hefty, and like is a great addition to your symbiote collection. Maybe everybody doesn't need a Venom Pool, but I think especially like when it came out, I think that was probably everybody's number one favorite, if not figure of the year, Build-A-Figure.
The merit of that figure. I think it's. I've had it. It's substantial for sure.
Mm-hmm. Probably next most agreed upon, I'll go with Annihilus. I think, especially for being early Hasbro, I think that was the very first. Maybe the second Build-A-Figure Hasbro ever did. Yeah, they can improve upon it, but like for being as old as it is, and their first one, like the wingspan on him is pretty big. I would like to see an update and see how they do, but even with an update, I would wonder if Hasbro could top this.
Yeah.
Next up, I'll say the Hulkbuster. That one is surprisingly ginormous. Not as articulated as I would love him to be, but he's big, and it makes sense that that's a Build-A-Figure. Probably, I think that might be the biggest Build-A-Figure that Hasbro has ever made. Another one that might not be surprising, at least for people that have been listening to the podcast for a while, I've got Caliban as an A-lister. If you go back and listen to our top 10 Marvel Legends, he's in my top 10. I just love posing him. I think he's really cool. I love the size. That one's probably, I bet a lot of other people have him a little lower than that, but I love him. I think that the Mandroid is super cool. I love that it's an army builder. I hate how hard it is to find the head. I've got all the pieces. I just cannot find the head. Brood Queen, I think, is pretty cool. I've never had her complete. I just saw her this past weekend at one of the Comic Cons that we had here in Madison. I don't love her for the price that she's currently going for, but I think, again, for being an early Hasbro figure, and this could be an army builder too, like it doesn't have to be a Brood Queen. I think it could just be like a Brood. I think it's fun. The jaw's articulated. It's got bendy wire arms. Maybe getting in a little bit more surprising is the Spider, the SPDR Build-A-Figure. I've just seen some crazy poses with that where it's just seems so articulated, which seems very rare for Build-A-Figures, and it still has like a decent size that justifies it being a Build-A-Figure. We've had some leaks of new SPDRs coming out, but I think those are going to be more like the movie, and I'm less excited about that than I am for this one.
Yeah.
Getting in more surprising, I'd like Ursa Major and Sasquatch. They're not the greatest in articulation, but they're hefty, and I think those are pretty fun to play around with. I love seeing photos, especially with Ursa Major and Red Hood together. I think those are very funny.
Yeah.
And I enjoy those.
I feel like Sasquatch, I would have wanted to love it, but I had him and he just didn't wow me.
That's true. Maybe I'm being a little bit generous with the A ranking for him, but I just had a lot more in the B. I'm gonna have to do a quick adjustment there too. I had to throw Strong Guy up in the A category. I think Strong Guy is an awesome addition to, if you've got any X-Men collection, you need a Strong Guy. Maybe I'm letting my nostalgia get with me here too, because I had
didn't you have one of them as a kid, right?
Yeah, yep. Apparently I've told the story before. I had the ToyBiz one. He got into a fight with Colossus, and Colossus punched him in half. So I was happy to get an update. I still have, like, I didn't get rid of my. I might have thrown away the legs, but I still have the upper body of that broken. Maybe I'll bring him on for my nostalgia episode.
I like it.
But then I think the one that we argue about the most, I have Sugar Man in the A category.
Well, you're insane for that.
He is the most, out of all these Build-A-Figures, he's the most unique. His arms are articulate. He's got 4 arms. All of them are very good articulation. The sculpt is very good. Lots of good details. I don't see, like, I can understand you're like, I don't care about this character, but you can't say that the figure is not an amazing Build-A-Figure. Rebuttal, Jordan? Yeah, you don't have one, right? You can't.
Like debate class.
Yeah,
I think I put him in, I don't know, I gave him a lower ranking, but I don't know, dude. It's just a giant face with little teeny tiny legs and some arms. Like, what am I going to do with that? You can't, he's another one that, like, I don't know. Like, what do you pose him as? Or where do you pose him? Just
you pose him like wherever the heck you want to pose him.
Is this like a statue, kind of?
You can get his arms everywhere. You can get him pointing over there, smacking somebody with his hammer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially if you've got if you're like me and you've got all of those AOA figures, you're gonna need him for that. I don't know.
Maybe I just don't have any attack. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know who he is. I think you've told me he was like.
He's like one of Apocalypse's
lieutenant or something. But yeah. I guess I never even read those comics. So.
He's like he's a high-ranking lieutenant for Apocalypse. Him and Dark Beast, I feel like, are kind of like, I don't know. They're always trying to one-up each other.
But you've read those, right?
Yeah, I read them. It's been a while now. I should go back and reread them, but I think I have. It might not be the omnibus, but I think I have like 2 pretty substantial books. Maybe I'll bring those to you this upcoming weekend when I see you. But I don't know. Listeners, leave a comment down below. Who's right here? Where should Sugarman B? Am I right where he's so unique and articulation is right there, size is good? He belongs in an A, or is Jordan right? He should be lower down the list. This one I'm curious about because obviously I think I'm right, but Jordan can be right once in a while.
Every so often.
All right, so that's our A-listers. Jordan, you want to get into your B-listers?
Yes.
Maybe start out with the ones where we overlap and then give us the new ones.
The ones that we overlap on.
Oh, I'll give you the quick recap of my A-listers real quick.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I had Annihilus, the Gamerverse Abomination, Hulkbuster, Caliban, Sugarman, Sasquatch, Ursa Major, Venompool, Warlock, Brood Queen, Mandroid, Sauron, Spider, and Strong Guy. All right, Jordan, your B-listers.
All right. So you mean where our categories
like if I've already mentioned it, if I've already mentioned it, do it that.
You mentioned that I've got Hulkbuster. I think he's cool. He's hefty, but he's just a little statuesque for me. Can't really do too much with him. I have Caliban, who I think is cool. I think it's a good basic build-a-figure body. I think you could reuse that one, and I think get some good mileage out of it. I just I don't know, kind of he's good. I think he belongs in that category.
Yeah.
And then I've got Ursa Major. And I think then Venompool.
Yeah.
Who I like both those, but just maybe not as much as you do.
That's fine.
And my other ones I put Apocalypse in there just because I've had that Apocalypse before, and from what I've seen, that's kind of like the best version of him out there. I like the color scheme. I think it's again a lot of like tooling on like the parts of his suit, and it reminds me the most of the where's the one up there, the ToyBiz one, which I always loved. Remember mine exploded, broke in half, but
right.
I don't know. I prefer that look to any of the other Apocalypses we've got.
Yeah.
And then I had the Professor Hulk, who again, this is another one that I think it's similar plastic, reminds me of the Abomination, where it's like, I don't know, it just feels a little sturdier. I liked the whole like gauntlet thing you could do. I know that came out later, but I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you could easily pop off his head and make him another Hulk for you if you wanted. I think I've seen people do that.
True.
Who else did I have? Crimson Dynamo. He's pretty hefty. Titus I've had, and he's one that I thought, again, I know nothing about, but I did sell him, but I was like halfway tempted just because, he's a giant tiger man with a cannon for a hand. So
right.
Can't go wrong with that. And then I have Lizard, which I know there's controversy with the Lizard. I know a lot of people love him. I had him. My really only critique with him is that he can't stand up straight. I hate how hunched over he is, but I think the sculpt is really good. I think if you position him right, you can make it look okay. I usually have him like he's like, climbing over Spider-Man, about to take him out. And I have a soft spot for Zemnu as well. Another one that I think is just random, but I'm glad they made him. And I had Call Obsidian, who I think that's one I was surprised by how big he is. Like, he's a lot taller than I expected, and from when I've seen pictures. But I thought the detail on him was cool, and had him displayed for a while. So that is my fast breeze through of my B. No, yeah.
B-list guys.
B-list.
All right, yeah. I mean, like, I don't think you really have too many in there that I would fight you too hard on.
I'm crazy for?
No, I think you're pretty accurate in pretty much all of those. I mean, what could I even argue with you on? I don't know the Professor Hulk at all, so I have him in my like NA category, just because I know people like you have said that he's really good. I don't do many of the MCU figures, so I just put him in the NA because I don't have any opinion at all on him. Yeah, we've got some overlap on some of these ones. All right, so let's see. I'll start with the ones that you've already mentioned, and then I'll get into the newer ones for this category.
Okay.
So some ones that you mentioned earlier that I have down in my B category. I've got Sandman, Dormammu, Stiltman, and Man-Thing in my B category. They're good. I like them. I think they're like towards the top of my B category. Maybe not so much Stiltman just because he's smaller, but I do like the fun factor that you can like continue to build him. Like he could never be a complete Build-A-Figure if you wanted to just continue collecting. So that is a fun aspect of him. Man-Thing, I was surprised. I didn't think he was going to be that great until I had him in hand. He's pretty cool. Some other ones that you mentioned we have in the same category is Lizard, Crimson Dynamo, and Zemnu. Pretty much the same reasons there. Like, I don't love that you can't stand up the Lizard. If you could stand Lizard up, he would probably be one of the
Top
best.
tier? Yeah.
Yeah, he probably would he would almost rival making his way into the S tier. But yeah, since he's all permanently hunched, you can't. It's just kind of a disappointing figure because you're like, oh, he's going to be huge. I want to stand him up, and you can't. Additions to mine, I've got Wendigo. I kind of put him and Zemnu on the same.
Come on, Wendigo.
You can't say he's that much different than Zemnu.
No, but I mean, even like the sculpt on him, like I was hoping for a more classic looking Wendigo. Like I think like, he has that weird like narrow face and like he looks like a little.
I feel like that's kind of how he looks in the Red Hulk. Like in the first, like when Red Hulk first comes around, and then Red Hulk fights Wendigo. I feel like that's how he looks in that. So maybe that's why I like him, is because I like that storyline, and that's kind of the only one I've really ever read with Wendigo in it. So I like it. It's kind of an army builder. You could get several. I
kind of like the way they did it back in the day, where Wendigo was like a Sasquatch variant. I see him more as a Sasquatch than like a whatever they're going for with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least from what I've read, he's like, that's kind of one of the reasons I don't like the Wendigo, or the old Wendigo, because it's too much like Sasquatch, where it's literally just a repaint. I like the idea of it. It's cool, but I think this one's a much better like Wendigo for the comics. And then I've also got the comic book version of Abomination. I don't know, not much to say on him.
I've never had that one, so I had him.
Yeah, I have him. I've had the like SDCC version of him.
I was gonna say yes. I think I've seen that one. I didn't really care for it, but
yeah, you just can't really get it nearly as dynamically posed as the Gamerverse one. But it is your comic book version. I feel like that's
pretty high for that.
Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe he does deserve to be in the C category. You're probably right. I should drop him down to C. I don't know what I was thinking when I made that. Had to drop another one down there too. All right, so scratch that. Abomination's not there. I have Rhino. Rhino, I'm also a little on the fence with, because since we've had the deluxe retro Rhino put out, I think that one's maybe a little bit better, but it's also just like a single carded figure that I'm kind of like, oh, was it really worth it to make a Build-A-Figure? But at the time, I think it was really cool. I've got Onslaught on there. I wish he was a little bit bigger. I think it was kind of weird that they put out Onslaught with a Red Skull head, which I know that's kind of like the storyline at the time was like Red Skull was that. Yeah. But like to have had to put out the Magneto head later, I feel like is weird. It should have just come with a Red Skull and a Magneto head.
I feel like that Onslaught is just so janky. Yeah. Like he does. It's like I remember. It's just so hard to get those legs in, and like that back thing never stayed on. And
what was another figure that wasn't there another one that was so hard to get the legs in that we both like could not figure it out?
Was it Mr. Hyde? You had a Mr. Hyde, didn't you? That you were convinced was misprinted because you were like,
right?
You were heating them up, and
I had to heat those up like hot. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I don't know. I thought he was pretty good. I mean, I agree.
Oh,
You could argue with me on that one. I can't move multiple in the same argument.
all right. No.
But no, I agree. He is. If they would have made him a little bit more substantial, he would be much more solidly in the B category. Then I've got the Gladiator Hulk Build-A-Figure, which I think the weapons on him, I'm glad that he came with like more substantial weapons. I think if it would have just been the Hulk, that would have been pretty disappointing. But since they actually gave you some accessories, I think that was kind of his saving grace. I've got Joe Fixit Hulk in there, just because I think that's like a fun Hulk to add to your collection. And I like to see some of the like customizations that people put, like Apocalypse heads and hands on him, and then you kind of have like a suited Apocalypse. So he's kind of got like multiple uses, and doing him with the, I mean, we don't have any like patch Wolverines, but
Right.
doing something like that, I mean, it's only a matter of time before we get a patch Wolverine. I have the Vulture Build-A-Figure on here. I don't love the idea of wings as Build-A-Figure pieces, but it was at least like it went along with the movie. It was an MCU thing, so I kind of give it some grace there, because it's like there really wasn't any other Spider-Man movie big villain to make, and it would have been odd to not give the main villain like his actual wings. Then I've got the Tri-Sentinel, which I think is a pretty underrated figure for the price that it's going for now. You could probably pick it up for $30 or $40. But that's another one that's really articulated. I think those skinny legs and arms really give you a lot of posability. The heads, those were pretty hard to get onto. But it's another one that you could army build for pretty cheap. And I like that one. The Kingpin Build-A-Figure, I was surprised by. I liked that one. I have the deluxe one. I think I like the deluxe one just because it looks more like the cartoon, and that's kind of what more my Spider-Man mind's eyes looks like. But this one's a pretty good, like this was one that I bought and was very tempted to keep. And I think I actually did keep it for a while. Like I priced him pretty high just so people wouldn't buy it. I've got Super Scroll on here. I think this one I feel like could almost be a deluxe figure where it doesn't necessarily need to be a Build-A-Figure, but the fact that he comes with like multiple arms is good. I feel like they almost could have just like made him almost a single release figure and just skipped out on the like regular arms. But I guess the regular arms make him a little bit more Build-A-Figure, where he's just a normal scroll, and then you can have the power effects. But like, I feel like they could have given us some more than just the arms. Like it would have been cool to have like torso add-ons, or like a different torso, like a half invisible other leg or something. I don't know, just some more. And then I've got Blob on here too. I don't love the figure, but I do like that he's bigger. He's Blob, so it's not like you need him in like super dynamic poses. And I think he can do about what you need him to do. We've got the new Blob is kind of leaked. We'll see. I think I like the look of this one maybe a little bit better, but I think the updated like articulation and stuff is probably going to be better for your posing in the new one.
Yeah.
So that's my B list category. Did we do a recap of your?
I don't know if we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think we.
Yes, we did.
Okay, cool. Mine. I'll quick recap mine, and then you give me your thoughts, Jordan. I got Crimson Dynamo, Lizard, Sandman, Dormammu, Stiltman, Man-Thing, Zemnu, Wendigo, Rhino, Onslaught, Gladiator Hulk, Joe Fixit Hulk, Vulture, Tri-Sentinel, Kingpin, Super Scroll, and Blob.
I did like Gladiator Hulk. I almost put him a little higher for me, but I don't know. I was trying to had to make some cuts, you know. So
yeah,
I was trying to distribute them a little more evenly, so it wasn't like everything is mid tier, you know. So
right.
But Joe Fixit, I don't know. I remember him being just kind of reminded me of Mr. Hyde. So I couldn't do much with him.
I don't think Mr. Hyde's that bad either.
Yeah. All
I mean,
right.
I didn't
Well,
like him at the time, but like after a while, I was like, I kind of can appreciate this guy.
the one I think you're craziest for is probably. Hmm,
I think the one I'm craziest for is
maybe.
Vulture. I mean,
Yeah,
that
that's pretty
one.
bad.
If
I'd
that
say
if he
between
wasn't
that and
MCU,
Tri Sentinel.
have you had the Tri-Sentinel?
Yeah.
Have you ever posed the Tri-Sentinel?
It's a Tri Sentinel, man.
Dude, it's got way better articulation than anybody else on this tier for me.
Yeah, I guess I'm factoring in like the interest. Does anyone care about the Tri Sentinel? Just give us a regular Sentinel. That looks
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
I agree with that for sure. I would much rather have a regular Sentinel, but it's just because you haven't read
I
that
don't know.
storyline, Jordan.
That's true. I'm not as educated.
I haven't read that storyline either.
I know. Um, figured that was
Of course, Dakota hasn't read that story.
inherent. Figured that was assumed. All right. So do you want me to then go
Yeah.
through? Okay. So you mentioned already Sasquatch. Obviously, put him a little lower. Rhino also put lower. Again, he's okay. I don't really love the retro though, so I don't know. I don't really like any of the rhinos they've done. I love,
Yeah.
the Fearsome Foes rhino. I know he's
Right.
smaller, but I love the sculpt,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like that the other ones don't have that.
Yeah.
Um, I put in. Okay, what else do we have? Blob. I would just put
Mm-hmm.
Blob a little lower because I don't know the whole. I think he could be done better. Probably will be. Onslaught. Mine kept falling apart. Didn't like it. When to go. Could use something a little different. And then Sasquatch, and that's it, I think, that
Yeah.
you've said so far.
Yeah.
So I put in number 4 slot. I put Ares. I think Ares is a fine one to have as a build figure if you need to. I think he could be. Obviously, you've seen him be a regular figure.
Right.
But I don't know. I thought he was all right. Absorbing Man, I liked the multiple parts. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Um, kind of basic-ish, which makes him sort of mid. I
Mm-hmm.
like Giant Man. I mean, I think it'd be cool to see an even bigger Giant Man
I
MCU.
agree.
Maybe he'll
Yeah.
like go crazy in Quantumania, and we'll get that. But
Mm.
if you need a Giant Man MCU, um, I don't know how Thanos weaseled his way on there.
I was curious about that too. I was like,
Because
you're gonna really put.
I don't think I've ever even had that one, so I don't know why he's there. I would probably put him in I'd almost say an NA, but I might put him in like a 5 or look kind of. He looks kind of garbagey to me, to be honest.
Yeah. I
But
mean, especially if you were gonna pick one of those Thanoses to put in the list,
yeah,
that's the worst one, I think.
I cannot attest to what computer glitch made that happen. Um, Armadillo, I think the detail's cool. It's kind of fun, random character. I don't really like. I feel like he's a little limited in his
Mm-hmm.
mobility.
Yeah.
And then Monster Venom I've had, and yeah, Colossus is cool. I've seen yours, and I liked
Mm-hmm.
him. And then I think that's kind of my
Yeah.
4 rank, or my what letter are we on?
We're on C.
C.
Um, yeah. I mean, I've got my C list. How do I have multiple onslaughts?
So do
Okay.
I.
Okay. Well, I got onslaught in my B and C category. I was
And
gonna
it's
do
not.
some like
It's both Hasbro onslaughts, right?
right. Maybe the one that we can't see the head on is supposed to be the one with the Magneto head.
They count that as a different Build-A-Figure.
I guess that I don't know that another weird glitch in the Matrix. They have 2 Jubilees on here too, and there's not 2 Build-A-Figure Jubilees. Anyway,
Anyway,
yeah. Quick recap on Jordan's C-listers. He's got Ares, Absorbing Man, Sasquatch, Giant Man, Rhino. We'll skip
He's not on
Thanos. Got Armadillo, Monster Venom, Colossus, the AOA version, Gladiator Hulk Blob, Onslaught, and Wendigo, which I see you've got your Onslaught in the same category as I do, where I don't know what that was about. But anyway, ones that you've mentioned already, I've got my Sam Wilson Falcon in the C category, which you had in your A category. You got a huge C
category.
I can't have them all in the A category.
Your B and C's are huge.
My D's even bigger, baby. Well, B and D are about the same, but yeah.
All right.
I moved 2 of my B's down to C while we were talking because you convinced me that my what was it, Gamerverse Abomination wasn't worthy of a B category.
Not Gamer, the regular Abomination.
Or the regular, the comic version. So anyway, I've got my Sam Wilson Falcon in the C category. Similar to that Vulture.
I respect it. I'm not going to argue with you on that.
When you open that package and you're like, I got a tiny little wing piece as my Build-A-Figure piece. That's just kind of not fun.
Yeah, I should probably move mine. Nostalgia got the best of me.
That's all right.
Dang it.
Then I've got another one you had up higher was Mojo. I think he was also in your A category. I agree he's a really good detailed figure. He looks gross, which I think is what they obviously were going for, but A is way too high for him. Maybe you could argue me up to a B for him, but he's cool and I'm glad to have him, but he's okay. Another one you had up high was Kree Sentry. I've got in my C category. I just don't think he's as articulated as you do. I'll have to pull him out and test him out again, but I know I'm happy to have him for the price that I got him for, but I don't see it. Apocalypse you had up higher too. I just feel like he's undersized. Maybe that's just because I was too spoiled with the ToyBiz Apocalypse. So then when they were like, oh, look at this Apocalypse, it's a Build-A-Figure, I was like, that's not even as tall as Apocalypse's leg.
All right.
So that's kind of where I was at with him. You had Titus up higher. I like him. Cannon for an arm, and what is it? An anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And a cannon for an arm. He should be higher up on my list, which he's surprisingly good.
I was gonna say, I'm kind of surprised you put him so low.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about my categories for a cool character, if you put wings on it,
I figured if I'd put him lower, you would have given me flack for like, dude, Titus is awesome. So that's why I'm surprised. I just had him in my box for too long.
Yeah, I got to pull him out of my box and.
You love him, dude.
Cull Obsidian, I have a little bit lower. I agree, he is hefty. I like that. He's got the big hammer. Somebody's got to be in the C category. I put Giant Man down here just because the picture they even have on here is the deluxe version, which if you can be a single packed figure, I kind of question whether you should be a Build-A-Figure. It makes sense because Giant Man is obviously bigger, so I'll give him some grace on that. Absorbing Man I've got down in my C category just because he's smaller and the arms that he comes with I feel like are kind of meh. I think his head looks goofy. Maybe that's how his head is supposed to look, but I just feel like they could have done a better job, which maybe I'm being a little too harsh because this is a pretty old figure. I've got Juggernaut down here just because, again, maybe for the time this was a good Juggernaut, but I think the new Juggernaut's better. I think you can get the knockoff Juggernaut from AliExpress. That one's better.
Wait, where's your Juggernaut?
He's the last one on my C category. I moved him while we were talking, so you probably see him up in my B category. So yeah, I moved him down to C just because if Abomination's going to be down there, Juggernaut's got to be with him. And Armadillo, if Armadillo had better ankles, Armadillo would honestly probably be an A. But those ankles, I was so excited to have him, and then he won't even stand up, and it just was so disappointing that I was like, man, this figure sucks. But he's got good detail. He's big and hefty, but his ankles are just so poorly designed.
Yeah.
And then I think that's Monster Venom I've got down here too. Similar. He's a fine figure, but meh. The new ones, I don't actually have a ton of new ones in this category. I think the only new ones. I got AO Colossus down here too. Yeah, I think the only new ones I've got in this category are Red Hulk, which I've never
I've
had in
never had
person.
that. Yeah, I've never had
So,
him
you
either.
know,
So
listeners, you can tell me if I'm wrong for putting him in the C category, but I just, he definitely, I don't think he deserves to be higher just because we have a new one that's way better now. And I don't really like the stylized blockiness. Like, it just looks like an odd shape of Hulk. And then I've got Terrax in this one too. He just doesn't scream Build-A-Figure heft to me. But he is a pretty cool figure. I've had this Build-A-Figure before, and I've got the new one on pre-order. But it's just like stacking him up compared to regular released figures. It's not like Sugar Man where you're like, oh yeah, that thing is way bigger, deserves to be Build-A-Figure. Terrax is just kind of like barely more than a regular figure. So really not anything too groundbreaking there, I don't think. I mean, anything standing out to you, Jordan?
no, I'm pretty in agreement with that.
All right. Quick recap. My C category, I had Armadillo, Absorbing Man, Giant Man. I don't know why there's two Onslaughts, but I guess I have Onslaught in my C category also. I got Mojo, Red Hulk, Apocalypse, Terex, Sam Wilson Cap, Titus, Cole Obsidian, Kroll Sentry. What am I saying? Kree Sentry.
Obsidian or Kree Sentry?
Kree Sentry. Venom, Colossus, Abomination comic version, and Juggernaut. All right, so now we're getting into just barely better than trash. This is the D-listers.
I have Arnim Zola in there. Maybe he should be trash.
You got the repeats.
Oh yeah, the repeats. Tri-Sentinel, I just don't care for him. And Sugar Man, almost garbage, but he's unique, so there's that. And then Strong Guy.
Listeners, you just jump into the comments right now and roast Jordan for putting Strong Guy as a D-lister. Why? Why would you do that, Jordan?
He's just. You think he deserves to be a Build-A-Figure? He isn't really that big, is he?
You can't put him out with, like, when you're putting things like Wolverine and Iron Man, like, he is twice the weight of
Couldn't
Wolverine
you make
and Iron
him a
Man.
deluxe?
Couldn't you make Sam Wilson a deluxe?
You could, and I agree with you. But I think you have the nostalgia for Strong Guy. I think you placed him way too high.
Okay, maybe he doesn't deserve to be an A-lister, but he doesn't deserve to be just barely better than garbage.
That's fair. Maybe he's like a B minus.
You just don't know. All right,
you don't get it, man.
You don't get it. Keep going with your barely better
Insanity.
than trash. Yeah.
Now my new one, I'm gonna say Molten Man. I think just kind of a waste. Watcher, I think could.
I mean, going back to Molten Man, like he wasn't even hardly anything. Which like those Spider-Man movies really didn't do any favors for Hasbro in giving them figures to make Build-A-Figures.
True.
Because like the first one, they had to make a Vulture, which is like, I don't like buying wing pieces. Now you make Molten Man, who wasn't actually Molten Man. It was just like a hologram, not the actual villain.
Yeah. My other one is the Watcher, just because it's like, I don't know how else you would do his little, skirt thing, but not like that. I mean, you don't even need the legs, really. You could just so
True.
It's like, I don't know. He's just a little too statuesque for me.
Mm-hmm.
I put Rintra on there because I guess he's unique, but just again didn't really factor into the movie, so whatever.
Right.
But he's also just kind of basic.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you put this Onslaught?
I think I have him in the same category. Yeah.
All right. I don't know why Well, I do. We read that article. It was like an original design for Onslaught, but just originally garbage, I guess. It's like, I guess any design's original if it's like, hey, do you want to do this good design? And it's like, I want something original. And that is not good. Not good. So
Yeah.
I don't know why they made him look like that.
Yeah, that ToyBiz onslaught was just terrible. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it would have been better if they would have gave him better legs that he could actually
Yeah,
stand
he's
up.
got those little teeny tiny.
But when you put 90% of the weight above his waist, it's just like, good luck ever standing that up. Which, like, obviously you could do it, but it's just like,
Yeah. Why?
even as a kid, like, I had it and it was like I played with I had Sentinel and Apocalypse, and those got played with every time. I had the Onslaught also, and like I would have it out, but it's just like it's not even very posable. You can't.
He was just peering out from the toy box like Dakota.
Right. Yeah, I mean I completed him, but it just
Yeah.
kind of I agree. I have him also in my D list. So your D listers again, which I'm gonna kind of use most of these again in mine. You got Armin Zola, which I agree because that was released as a deluxe and it's not even much bigger than a regular figure. You got Molten Man, Watcher, Tri-Sentinel, Rintra, the ToyBiz Onslaught, Sugar Man, and Strong Guy, which those last two.
All right, I'll give you Strong Guy needs to be up. Sugar Man deserves his spot.
He deserves to be right next to the trash.
Yeah.
All right, my D-listers that just barely made out of the trash. So some repeats. Let's see, what did you have on here earlier? You had Ares up a little bit higher. I just think since he was a single-carded figure, it doesn't make sense to have him as a Build-A-Figure. Even at the time, he wasn't much bigger. Maybe they just, since he came with like a removable helmet, knife, sword, like they thought this makes sense. But like early Hasbro had some good stuff and early Hasbro had some bad stuff, and I think this was one of their bad stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that is the only overlap outside of this category. Within this category, though, we both agree that Armin Zola deserves to be here. The Watcher, Rintra, ToyBiz Onslaught, Molten Man. Those I also have in this category. Some additions in mine. I have Korg, which you could talk me into putting him in the trash.
I guess I've had Korg, but I've never had that Korg, so I can't say.
Yeah, it does look better than the regular released one. I've never had the Build-A-Figure myself, but I just know that like the idea of them making that the Build-A-Figure just was so disappointing and ridiculous. But
yeah,
I don't know. Again, you could easily talk me into putting that in the trash. I've got the Groot Build-A-Figure again. Never had it, but never want it. I will say it does make sense to make that a little bit bigger, so that's why he's just outside of the trash, because it's at least like the big Groot. I've got M'Baku. Again, he's a little bit bigger than normal, but now that he's a single released figure, I'm kind of like, was it really necessary to give us that as a Build-A-Figure? Maybe not. But again, slightly bigger, so he's right next to the trash can. I've got Mr. Hyde here. I think he was a decent figure. He's at least
in the trash.
I put him above M'Baku.
Yeah.
But he's definitely, I don't think I'd put him on the same list as like Titus, Apocalypse, and Armadillo for me. He's just outside the trash. I wouldn't mind getting him again, but it's just like, not great. I've got MODOK down here. ToyBiz MODOK.
I don't know if I've seen that one. Did you have it? You still have it,
yeah,
right?
I have it, yeah. I'm keeping all my ToyBiz Build-A-Figures, but he is one that, like, don't spend much money on him because he's definitely a statue, which any MODOK is going to really be more of a statue, like get a little bit of posing. But even then, I would get the new one. Yeah, I have him so I can complete my ToyBiz. Same with the Onslaught. Like, I'm never going to get rid of them because I want all those ToyBiz figures just as like a collection within my collection, but they're not great figures. I've got Ronin on here. I've never had him.
I don't think I've ever had him.
But you can just kind of look at him and be like, that thing's not going to move. Like that skirt is going to prevent
Oh,
leg movement. Single jointed arms. It looks kind of doo-doo to me. Not as bad as some of the other figures, but still pretty doo-doo. Ultron, you've had Ultron, right?
No, he's so like flimsy and janky.
Yeah, it's slightly bigger, so it makes sense, but all at the same time, they just put minimal effort into the detail on. I mean, he's at least sculpted differently, but like it just, I've got Fat Thor on here too. Again, that's not any different than a regular
I believe
sized
they call him Bro Thor, dude.
Bro Thor. Yeah, true.
Come on,
body positivity.
that's right.
It's
That's
just
what we're all
like,
about here.
why he's a normal size. Don't make Build-A-Figures normal sized. I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
I've got the Odin, or what is it, King Thor maybe, or whatever that Build-A-Figure is. The only reason he's not in the trash is because he comes with, like, you can make multiple figures out of him. Like, he comes with, I think, 2 sets of arms and 2 heads, I think, and 2 different capes even maybe, whether you're making it like Odin or Thor. So that's kind of fun. Still, and again, maybe I'm being too harsh because it's an old figure, but Demogoblin, the only saving grace on him is he comes with a stand and a bigger glider, but that's a regular sized figure. It's not even a deluxe figure, so it's like, kind of hard to make that argument that he's a good Build-A-Figure. And I've got my Ironmonger on here. This one's the only one that I feel kind of bad about putting in the D category. I like him. He's a good figure. But I feel the same way about him as I do Kree Sentry, where it's just like the posability is not great. He probably deserves to be up in the C category, but, for some reason I put him in the D. So, recap of mine. Did you have anything groundbreaking there, Jordan?
Nothing crazy in disagreement. I think we're kind of on the same page there.
So yeah, we had a recap. I've got Korg, Armanzola, Groot, M'Baku, ToyBiz Onslaught, Mr. Hyde, MODOK, ToyBiz version, Molten Man, Ronin, Ultron, Bro Thor, Watcher, Ares, the King Thor / Odin, Demogoblin, Ironmonger, and Rintra. So now we are getting into the items that belong in the trash can. All right, Jordan.
All right.
What do you got in your
my trash can, I have Demogoblin in there just because it's kind of an insulting Build-A-Figure.
Yeah.
I put Bro Thor in there because, again, it's like we're going to build Bro Thor.
Yep.
Joe Fixit, I don't know. I know you liked him more, but kind of like a Mr. Hyde situation for me. Just kind of...
Okay.
Mantis, ridiculous. I've had that Jubilee, I think, and same thing.
Yep.
Does it need to be a Build-A-Figure? No. Sandman, maybe he should be in the... I mean, he's bigger, of course, but it's literally a statue.
Yeah.
So he probably... Never mind. He's garbage.
He's garbage.
But garbage that I sold for quite a bit. So.
That's true. People pay a lot of money for that garbage.
And then I got MCU Ultron. I just thought his plastic was so hollow. Like he felt literally like those cheapo $5 bargain bin toys. So, and then I put M'Baku in there because again they just blatantly released them as a single. Okoye, same deal.
Yep.
Puck, it's the novelty of getting Puck, I guess, but what more can I say? And then Mr. Hyde, who you had in your just above
I had him in my
garbage.
Just barely not garbage.
But I think he is a janky piece of trash. So
yeah, I mean
that's kind of my garbage.
We got a lot of overlap here too. I've got Puck is also in my garbage bin. Him and Rocket Raccoon are just 2 of probably the most insulting Build-A-Figures ever created. Now, I suppose with them putting out Howard the Duck, they would say, no, this is Puck. He's a single released figure. It makes sense. no, don't ever do this again. Like, these should be packed in with somebody else. Like, you should get Groot and this Rocket Raccoon. You should get, I don't know, one of the
Sasquatch.
Well,
No, not
maybe
Sasquatch.
if you were going
He's
to do
too
like a
big.
deluxe.
The Guardian.
Yeah, Guardian, or like maybe one of the female characters, just because it's like, less plastic, even out, whatever. I agree with you on Sandman. You can't pose it at all. You just built a statue, but yeah, I would love to find myself a stack of these so I could sell them for $250, but ridiculous. Similar, I had Hobgoblin here. That's a single release figure. Don't make it a Build-A-Figure. Another small one was Hitmonkey. Never had it. Let me know if it's a great figure. I would have been so upset. Like this was at least. I'm glad a lot of these were put out when we weren't collecting.
Yeah.
Because these, especially these little ones, just suck. Thanos, all the versions, trash. It's a single. Like, even one of the pictures they're using here is the single release, and the other one came in a 2-pack. Yeah, the armored up version. Isn't that the Walmart exclusive? Or if it's not, it looks exactly like it. It's kind of too zoomed in to really tell exactly, and it's a small picture. But if you could make that Walmart a single release, which like, okay, the comic version is like a deluxe.
Well,
maybe
weren't those both just Build-A-Figures? I just remember they made a ton of Thanos Build-A-Figures, but they didn't make a single. They didn't put them in it.
No, they did. There was a Walmart exclusive, like, armored version of Thanos.
The comic or the MCU?
It's kind of comic-y, but it looks very similar to this one they have in the pictures for this list. It was kind of got like the armor plated. I'll send you a picture.
I know that one. I'm talking about the MCU Thanos.
Oh, no, not the... Well, they did like the 2-pack with
Are you
Iron
talking
Man.
about the comic one or the MCU?
MCU one now, if we're talking about the armored with the sword.
But the one that's like just comic looking armored is also in the trash.
Yeah. Any of these anything that's a Build-A-Figure, trash. Thanos related.
So any Thanos. Okay, so all
Thanos. All Thanoses belong in the trash.
Wow. All right.
The only thing, like I said, like with the comic book version, like the Infinity Ultra, the Infinity like snapping glove one, they did remake that into a controller. I haven't had that controller one, but I'm gonna put him probably in the trash too whenever I make a final decision, just because that seems like one of the cheapest repaints to get a different character. Which, like, yeah, it's kind of cool to get a like character like that people probably never thought they would see just by giving you a new head and a new hand.
Yeah.
But it just seems so cheap to me to do that to collectors. More things I've got in my trash can. Really just the rest. I've got Jubilee, Mantis, Okoye, and Gilgamesh, all for the same reason, because those have no business being split apart into Build-A-Figure pieces and put out like that. Those should just come in a pack. Like I don't know. Again, just why give us figures that are so small as a Build-A-Figure? Why would I want to build that? I want to build something bigger. So that's my trash can. Just a recap of both of our trash cans. We got Demogoblin, Hobgoblin, all Thanoses, always. Brothor. Jordan put Joe Fixit Hulk in there. Mantis, Jubilee, Sandman, Ultron, M'Baku, Puck, Okoye, Mr. Hyde, Gilgamesh, Hitmonkey, Rocket Raccoon. So those ones
pretty similar, I think, as far as what we didn't like.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't think, like, there's nothing in yours that I'm like, no way, Jordan, that should definitely be. I mean, like,
yeah,
I think that Joe Fixit deserves to be up, at least looking at the trash can, not in it. Same with Mr. Hyde, just because, like, putting those on the same level as, like, the
Yeah.
Sandman
Yeah.
statue and Puck seems
That's
a
fair.
little.
That's fair. Those should
But
probably be higher.
yeah. And then some that like we just didn't, or at least that I didn't have an opinion on, was like the brand new stuff like Atuma controller, Infinity Ultron, Conchu. Like none of those figures are out around me anyway. Like I think we could maybe get some of those figures
Yeah.
on Big Bad Toy Store or some like online retailers. We've seen a few of the Conchu or a few of the Conchu figures. I think
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe.
No, we haven't seen any of those. We saw some Infinity Ultron ones in New York, but I've
Yeah.
also got Green Goblin. I didn't have a strong opinion. I don't know enough from the community whether he's well liked or not. I like that he comes with fire effects. He's big, so he probably wouldn't belong in the trash, but I just don't know how well to rank him. Bonebreaker I've never had. I would probably rank him higher just because he's unique. Like we don't have, like there's never been another Build-A-Figure like him. Maybe Mojo, just with that like bottom half vehicle type look.
Yeah.
Nemesis or Holocaust. I know he goes for crazy money, but he doesn't look like he would be that great of a figure. Like I know if you're wanting to have that like AOA display, he's kind of like the piece that most people would be missing. I would never want to spend the money that he costs.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are speculating that we'll get a new one at some point. That Build-A-Figure Hulk, the Professor Hulk, like I said, I don't know him too well. I left him off my list, and same with Space Venom. I know that Space Venom also goes for pretty good money, but I've never had it in person, so I can't really say one way or another.
Yeah.
And then you decided to not speculate on a lot of figures, so.
Sorry.
I
I just didn't want to weigh in on ones I haven't had, I guess.
I am perfectly happy throwing out an opinion that I have no business having.
All right. I guess that's the whole point of this, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of Build-A-Figures, and I think we're gonna need to have a speculation episode on what Build-A-Figures are coming out this year, because we just found out that the Avengers wave is gonna be Puff Adler, which again is another figure I don't really know anything about. But I know some people are wanting to build their Serpent Society, and Hasbro is just slowly dripping those figures out like 2 years at a time. So, maybe in 10 years you'll have all those Serpent Society figures that you want. But yeah, I think it'd be fun to kind of try to figure out what is going to be coming down the line. See if we can make some
Build-A-Figures go.
Yeah, see if we can make some predictions, see how accurate we are. Because a lot of the figures
let's do it.
in our leaks episode, those are all leaked to us. Like we didn't have to do much speculating there. But we don't know what those Build-A-Figures are. So it'd be interesting to see if we can guess what's coming as far as Build-A-Figures go. Like I said at the beginning, make sure you're subscribed so that you can enter to win one of the posters. Make sure you're following us on the audio platforms as well. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, like it, share it, and until next time, stay strong.